everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of the Most Dupes record attempt. This is episode 100. So we're doing something a bit special for this episode. So instead of being a stream VOD, we're going to do a base tour and have a look at all the things we've built so far, how far we've got on, and where we're going to go from here. So if we jump straight in, the first thing I want to have a look at is the living areas. Now, as you can see, we've kind of got a structured base model going on here. These are designed to take 48 dupes each, so we've got a structure where we have 6 bedrooms, a washroom, and then a utility room and a kitchen, so we've got an exosuit forge in here as well. And then we've got 2 great halls, including some infinite food storage for the dupes to eat in. You have a quick look at the room overlay. You can see we've also got nature reserves on the ladder rooms where we've planted them, going all the way up. And also Atmo suits at 8 per level, so 6 levels, 48 suits for 48 dupes. In total, we've currently got 3 of these modules, so quite a big living area for currently 144 dupes, which we hadn't filled out yet, but lots of living area for them to come and stay in. Now, to keep all of this oxygenated, we've got oxygen coming in on every level, which feeds all of the Atmo suits docks, as well as some gas vents. That keeps everyone breathing nice and happily. And we also have cooling loops that run behind the entirety of the base, keeping it nice and cool, as well as an additional cooling loop just for the infinite deep freezing food storage. Now, all of this comes from the SPOMs and cooling loops, so those are based over on the right if we scroll over. And you can see over here we've got a number of Rodriguez's set up, so this is a standard SPOM design that I covered in the tutorial bite for oxygen. Now, these can actually support 30 dupes each, so 2 of them per base segment gives me 60 dupes worth of capacity. And the reason why I use these is because they just overpressure when they're providing enough oxygen, so very simple to manage, very reliable, and never break. So currently there are 6 total to support all of our base areas, and you can also see we've got our cooling loop set up with some fine temperature control. This is controlling for the base temperature and then for the infinite food storage. So those run across to the left hand side. Now, these SPOMs obviously make a lot of hydrogen, and if we follow the hydrogen lines up, we get to the infinite hydrogen storage up here. Now, this is currently at just over 3 tons per tile, and there's 88 tiles of storage. So this is about 300 tons worth of hydrogen that we're currently not doing anything with, but we have the ability to get out, so that's probably going to be a project in the near future. And then a mess of gas piping in order to do that. So we have a way to get all of this out, and we should be using that fairly soon. Now, jumping back down to the SPOMs, these are fed by water lines, obviously. If you follow these down, we'll find the infinite water storage at the bottom of the map. This is using an Escher waterfall design, as I discussed in the tutorial bite for infinite storage. We currently have many tons per tile of water here, so this is our key resource for oxygen. So we've got good supply and a nice orderly pipe system to get it out and pop it in. So we're feeding this off of a number of saltwater geysers and polluted water geysers that are coming in. Now, this map also has a lot of oil, so if we follow these lines back up, you'll see we're feeding quite a number of oil wells off of these. Now, in total, we're running 9 of them, which are feeding the 2 sour gas boilers and 1 petroleum boiler. We have put in place the infrastructure to capture some more, and we will intend on using all of them just to try and get the maximum out of the water supplies on the map. Now, if we follow the oil line down, we come to the petroleum boiler, which caused quite a lot of problems early on. But we managed to fix that. So the issue was that the setting here was set to 410, which should have been 405, and that caused quite a lot of problems if you saw some of the earlier episodes. But since we fixed that, it's now all running nice and smoothly. We haven't had any problems. So this is reliably producing a load of petroleum, which is flowing all the way up to the top of the map if we follow the line all the way up. And this lands in our infinite petroleum storage at the top, again using an Escher waterfall type design. See, we've got fewer pumps in here than we do in the water, but again we've got a nice set of lines going in and a number of lines coming out. Now, these are feeding the rockets up here, so we're mainly using petroleum rockets for our space exploration. And if you follow it down, we head in towards our industrial brick, which is down here. Now, this is a mixed carbon dioxide and steam brick. We're running quite a number of petroleum generators. And what you can also see in here is that we have a load of ranches. Now, these are all Slickster ranches that are here to eat up the carbon dioxide, and they're all molten Slicksters. And they produce a load of petroleum, which we then catch at the bottom and we can use. Now, currently we're sat at about 36 kilos per tile, which is probably more than I'd want, but not a problem. So the Slickster is just going to eat all of that up and produce us some useful petroleum. Now we've also got in here our industrial setup. So any machines that we needed, generators, rock crushers, refineries, all of that good stuff is all in here and is the heart of our manufacturing area. And then our cooling and steam turbines on top, which is just capturing the water out and sending it into our storage. Now, of course, these Slicksters are making a load of food for us, and we've got a little evolution chamber over here with quite a lot of eggs in, making a huge amount of barbecue for us to eat, and we'll have a closer look at food a little bit later on. But what I want to do now is just jump across and have a look at our sour gas boilers. They're on the left-hand side of the map. Now, these have got some more oil inputs, and we're boiling to sour gas and then cooling back down into liquid methane, and then getting the natural gas out and burning it in our generator bricks over here. Now, these have been a bit temperamental, to be honest. We took quite a while to get the first one running, and this design isn't the best design. We'll definitely have a look at improving it. But they are mostly working for now, but they are grabbing a load of water and natural gas and sulfur output that we're using. You can see we set up these giant hot industrial bricks to capture our natural gas generators. Now, this is obviously the more straightforward way of dealing with the polluted water output from these to recover it as water. The main downside really is that you need to build these hot industrial bricks, and these machines are all made out of steel or thermium. So for a brick like this, which has got 75 generators in, we've had to use 60 tons of steel and thermium, which is quite expensive. But yeah, definitely a neat way of doing it. As you can see, we've got 2 running currently, and a third one in progress here. So we've actually managed to finally vacuum out the third area. Now we're working on the natural gas generator brick to go with it. So this is very close to being set up. Hopefully within a couple of episodes we'll at least get this started and running. Now, as well as the ridiculous amounts of power that we're getting out of here, just to cover that, we currently have potential draw of 85 kilowatts, and in fact we're probably just about overloading a heavy watt conductive wire there, so we desperately need to split these lines. But the other thing we're getting out is sulfur. We're getting a lot of sulfur, and this is helping us with food. So if we follow the sulfur line over to the right, you can see we've got a giant grub farm here, and this is also with grub fruit. And now this is producing quite a lot of our bulk of our food production. As you can see, we've got a couple million kilocalories here, so we're doing pretty well now. But actually this slowed me down quite a lot, so I didn't realise how much we needed to work on food in order to take more tubes. But I think we kind of sorted that. We got a significant amount of barbecue there, obviously from our Slicksters, and some grub meat, I'm sure. And then we got a load of grub fruit and some cooked seafood as well. So this ranch is just taking the sulfur, fertilising the plants and feeding the grubs. We've also got some tepidizers in here just to heat up against the fact that the sulfur's coming in about minus 160 degrees, so it's pretty chilly. But this ranch is working really well for us and providing a whole load of food. Now, just to the left of the grub fruit area, we've got the shovel ranch area. Now, we did try and get as many of these as we could, but we ran out of regolith pretty quickly. There's still a few there, just providing us a little bit of meat with some starvation ranching. And above here as well, we also have some starvation ranch pacus, so just providing us a load of free seafood. Just got a load sat there. Now, this is actually next to a little mini SPOM, which is just providing oxygen for our rockets and for our oxalite production, just below our rockets. Now, the first one's just a research rocket, so just for providing data banks. We haven't used that much, so we definitely haven't completed the research tree. The second one is our colonizing rocket, and that's been doing quite a lot of work on some of the outer planetoids, which we'll have a look at a little bit later on. And then the other two are our drilling rockets, so we've been making good use out of these to visit all of our space destinations, particularly the glimmering asteroid field, just to grab all the wolframite for our tungsten, so we can turn that into thermium. But also we've been running this for some of the other locations, just trying to grab more metal ore, some copper ore from the rocky field, and some iron ore from the space debris, just because metal ore has been a real challenge on this map, getting enough of it to build mesh tiles and airflow tiles. And conveyor rails, we used a lot of metal ore, so that's always in short supply. Now, the other thing we've got in our space area is our nuclear reactor. Now, this is currently decommissioned. We basically ran out of enriched uranium on this planetoid. We could start it back up again, but there's no urgent need for that. We got a load of power from our sour gas boilers, of course. We also managed to grab a load of nuclear waste here for our radiation. So we're sitting on 27,000 rads per tile in this infinite nuclear waste storage. So this is powering our diamond presses, our interplanetary launchers, and we've got room to add more if we want to later on. But currently this is kind of meeting our needs. So this was here and has been useful, and we're still using some of the radiation from that. Now that kind of covers most of the base. Most of it's kind of built up here. Just to cover a bit more bits that we've got down here, there are some wild thimbleweed farms going on over here, just to keep the supply up for our suits. Obviously we've got a lot of suits, so we need a lot of thimbleweed. These are kind of temporary, but they're doing the job there. We've got a load there. And also just up to the right from our thimbleweed farms is our Aluminium Volcano. So we captured this quite early on, but it's quite a useful source of refined metal. We've been using aluminium in a lot of places, and that's been quite reliable for us there, with some more thimbleweeds, of course. And then taking a look further on down, really this area's mostly just been dug out. We've exposed obviously a load of oil reservoirs, which we intend to use later on, and some geysers that we haven't quite captured yet, as well as our teleporter. But yeah, mainly this area is just for future expansion. And so with that look at the main base, let's have a look at the other planetoids, and we'll of course jump onto our second planetoid here, which is linked by our teleporter. Now as you can see here, we've currently only got 14 dupes, but we have room for more. And most of this area is a farm, and it's going to be a very big farm, and it's all for wild lettuce. So we have a huge amount of lettuce plants already, and we're adding more. And the idea for this farm is to support 81 dupes, and it's about 10 lettuce per dupe. So this farm needs to be absolutely giant. And just to get the scale for you, when it's fully done, the size of the farm will probably be something around this big, which is the biggest farm I've ever done or ever seen. So it's going to be hopefully fairly impressive when we're done. As you can see, we're kind of halfway through building it. We've been making a lot of natural glass tiles in here to fill in the gaps, and we're kind of about a third of the way through planting it. So a lot of useful plants already coming through, which is going into our food storage. Now the base currently is over on the right hand side. So you can kind of see here that the idea is exactly the same as the main base, where we've kind of got it all modular. The rooms aren't quite as developed here because we're just using for what we need right now, but we will expand this in the proper way later on. We've also got another Rodriguez over here just providing oxygen to the area, as well as a cooling loop, which is cooling the farm and the base area. And then above we have some infinite water storage, which we haven't quite commissioned yet. So this is being built in the last episode, and we are just in the process of turning this on. But this will store all of the water for the colony. Now on that topic, we've got a cool salt sludge geyser there, a polluted water vent there, and a cool steam vent there. So these are our main water sources. So we should be able to support 81 dupes worth of oxygen on this planetoid. So we'll probably need 2 base areas. We'll double this up and take around there. Now at the bottom of the map, this is our original base area, which is kind of decommissioned now, but still intact. So we'll probably be tearing that up to replace it with some farm fairly soon. And at the bottom of the map, we've got an iron volcano, which we've captured here, and are sending that through to make steel on the main planetoid, as well as some Beetas that are happily sitting in their hives. Now we have captured this area for some enriched uranium in the past, but currently we're not really using it, but it's still here preserved in its original state, so we can have a play with this later on. And that's kind of it for our second planetoid. So a giant project there with the wild farming, and that kind of covers the 2 inner planetoids. And if we have a look now through the outer planetoids, we can see all of the work we've done there. And we'll start here with the Marshy planetoid, although it's not looking very marshy anymore, mostly because we completely overheated it trying to deal with the magma. So the key thing we're trying to get out of here is the tungsten volcanoes, so we can make more thermium on the main planetoid. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to do this in the best way, so we managed to get rid of all the magma by freezing it down into rock. Now the goal here is to vacuum this out, and we are very close to doing that, so we've only got a couple of grams per tile. And once we get that done, we can then finally go back in, get these tungsten volcanoes all captured, and start taking the tungsten back to our main planetoid. So that should hopefully happen within the next few episodes. And then the other point of interest on this planetoid, of course, is the tree, which we can use to grab some resin and some visco gel, and that's going to help us out with making some liquid locks on the main planetoid. Now, as you can see, it's completely overheated due to the nature of it, but we are hopefully going to be able to cool this down fairly soon and then start using it. So that is the plan coming up fairly soon. And that moves us on to the superconductive planetoid. Now we have been here, as you can see, we've got our rocket platform, and we've grabbed some niobium. Now we haven't done too much here, only because once we've got the 5 kilograms of niobium we need to make thermium, we can just make unlimited amounts with the tungstens. So really we're kind of done here, and we've got everything we need. and then onto the Regolith planetoid. So as you can see, we haven't been here yet, but the plan is to come here because there should be some water in the form of a steam vent, which should allow us to get a couple more dupes, which will live here safely under the surface. We'll put some bunker tiles in just to protect them, and make a mini colony on this planetoid. So that is to come at some point in the future. And on the cold planetoid, as you can see, we have also been here with our rockets. We haven't unlocked the temporal tear opener, we've got no need for that. But what we have done is taken all of the wolframite off this planetoid and take it back to our main planetoid to turn it to tungsten. So a lot of useful metal ore collected from here. And then what we're also doing is just digging out the iron volcanoes. As you can see, we haven't properly captured them yet. That might well be a task that we can have a look at in the future. We're just relying on the heat just to cool the hot iron into a metal form, which we can then take back. So again, this is a useful resource. It's probably worth capturing, but we just haven't done it yet. So a future project there. Now the water planetoid, we have been here as well, as you can see. We have also managed to analyze the water geysers here. So we know we can support about 40 or so dupes on this planetoid. That will be the plan. So this is probably going to be quite a big project. Again, we'll do a wild farm and make a living area, settle up a load of dupes on here, and that will add to our count. So of course the intent is to capture all of this water, which will make a whole load of oxygen. And now, like I said, we can sustain about 40 dupes on this planetoid. But if we capture all this water, we can probably, temporarily at least, increase the number. So that might give us a few extra at the end, just to increase the numbers. So we'll have a go with that. But again, this is a big future project that we probably need to start looking at fairly soon. And then the last planetoid is, of course, the gassy moo planetoid, which isn't really very useful. We haven't been here. There's no sources of water here. And I'm not particularly interested in gassy moos, so we won't really be coming here. This is just going to remain as it is. And jumping back to the main base, which is, of course, where everything's happening. Obviously, this being a classic size planetoid. So where do we go from here? Well, we need more dupes. Obviously, we're on 107 currently, and the target, as far as I'm aware, is Francis John's 141. But if you have more, or you know of people that have got more, then please let me know. But that's going to be our first benchmark. In terms of numbers, the target is probably around 350 or so just on this planetoid, and then system-wide, somewhere between 500 and 600 should be doable. If my computer can keep up, that's going to be the challenge. We're already struggling a bit for frame rate, but hopefully we can keep going, definitely to at least 200, and see where we go from there. Now, in terms of what that means for the base, obviously more dupes means more of everything. So we need more sour gas boilers to provide more water in our industrial brick, more areas to live, and more areas to process the carbon dioxide, more SPOMs, more cooling. So more of everything. Now, I've intentionally built this in a way which is extendable, so we can just continue extending these down in a nice orderly fashion. And the idea really is to fill up the entire map with the base. So that's the goal really. There's clearly quite a lot of time to go if we want to beat the record, but hopefully we can do something no one's ever done before and get a whole load of dupes. And that's kind of everything I wanted to cover in the base tour. Obviously, there's lots to come. Normal service will resume from the next episode, so unfortunately to YouTube, all I can put is the unedited VODs. I appreciate everyone that watches all the way through. I know they're quite long. Of course, you can also catch me live on Twitch if you're able to make it. So my current streaming schedule is 8 PM UK time every Friday for about 3 hours, so we record 3 episodes a week. It's always great to have people in and to chat with, so a huge thanks if you have dropped in, or if you've left me a comment, or even if you've just watched. I really appreciate all the support with this series, and hopefully we'll get somewhere pretty awesome in the future. Now, the other thing I should mention is the Discord, which I've got linked down below. We've got an awesome community over there for all things Oni, so please feel free to join there too. And that's really everything I had to say for this base tour. So thank you very much for watching this special episode, and any of the others in the series that you've also seen. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.